Welcome to Bruce Hurwitz Presents Meet the Experts. I'm your host, Bruce Hurwitz of Hurwitz Strategic Staffing. You can find us on the web at hsstaffing.com. I hope you'll consider us for all your staffing, career counseling, and speech writing needs. I am delighted to be joined today by Angel Ribo. We will be discussing how to reinvent yourself, pivoting in a crisis. Meet the Experts is sponsored by P&K CPAs. P&K is a full-service accounting firm. They provide accounting and consulting services to businesses ranging from startups to small and mid-cap companies to nonprofits as well as high-net-worth individuals. Contact them today for a free consultation at pk-cpas.com or call them at 973-882-8810. They will be happy to be of service. Angel, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bruce. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And obviously, thank you, everybody who's listening to us today.
Well, the pleasure is mine. Please take a minute or two and introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you. Absolutely. So I am originally from Barcelona, close to Barcelona, but I've lived in Plano, Texas for the last 10 years. Basically, what I do for a living, I help both corporate CEOs and established entrepreneurs who hire me to bridge the gap globally for expansion and exposure as a way to accelerate the growth of their businesses. And I'm able to do that because, before I started my own business 5 years ago, I had worked and I had helped more than 1,500 CEOs in 33 different countries. Also, I think it's important for everybody to know that my passion is in helping underprivileged kids in Latin America become entrepreneurs using their local resources. And I was blessed of joining a couple of business partners, of friends of mine, a few years ago, and we started Wisdom for Kids in order to do that. So thank you for having me, Bruce.
It's my pleasure. Reinventing yourself and pivoting. How do you define pivot?
Thank you. Well, when I think about pivoting, I actually think about these basketball players that, when they are in possession of the ball, they start moving one leg is still, in contact with the ground, and the other one, they keep on moving it, one side and the other. So, and that's how I consider pivoting. Pivoting is actually in a business setup. For me, pivoting is like changing something in your life or changing something in your business, but taking as a starting point what you have already developed and what you have already, learned throughout time. So that's how I define myself pivoting.
Now, if I can get through this without coughing, why would you have to reinvent yourself? Is it really reinventing yourself or reinventing the business in a crisis?
That's a great question. Actually, it very much depends on what's going on out there, right? I mean, we're talking about in times of crisis, because when it's a crisis, there's some external events that oblige you to rethink about what you're doing and what you are offering to the market at that point in time. When something, is so dramatic that it's called a crisis, then you start thinking, okay, so if the market has changed, if the conditions of the market have changed, so the clients probably are looking for something else or might need something different. How can I do it? And to your point, you might have to reinvent yourself. You might actually have to learn new skills. You might have to go down paths that you've never been before, or maybe not. Maybe you can just, expand what you already were providing to your clients or to your market and take it from there. So it really depends on, I would say, how you have to pivot, or how do you have to provide additional products or services to the market.
Let's take two different cases. And obviously the crisis that's in the background, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, is COVID-19.
Okay.
Let's say we have a business, an MSP, an IT service provider. Now they have to deal with Zoom. They have to deal with cybersecurity at a level that they never had to deal with before. So maybe they're bringing on more people in a time when you can't all be in the office together. Some people are going to work from home. Some people have to go out because they're field network engineer. And if you're a field network engineer, field means you go out. And if you're an engineer, you have to touch the gizmo. But your principles, your values, your ideals stay the same. You're just offering more. As opposed to a restaurateur who now has to lay people off and change the business model. The first case, they were just growing. In this case, they're changing the business model. We're no longer going to be serving food inside. People are going to come to the window or to the door, or we're going to rush out to their car, and we're going to hand them their order. So the business model has changed. So describe for us the pivot and the reinvention as you see it in both cases.
Okay, so great question. I love when the rubber hits the road, Bruce. So I'm enjoying these conversations. In the first case, well, let's not forget, first of all, Bruce, that not everybody likes to do everything. So it could perfectly be that there's an IT services company who's filled, right? Maybe they don't really like to provide the kind of services that the market is requesting. So that's a possibility. But let's say, for the sake of the example, that this IT services company is willing to provide this service to their marketplace, right? So they're going to probably have to learn a little bit more. They will have to learn additional skills because they will have to provide additional services. They might have to hire new people. I always like to consider that every single pivoting has to take into consideration 4 different factors. Number 1, your passion. Do you really want to provide that? Do you really like to do it? Number 2, is there a market for that? Is there a market? Does the marketplace really want that service, right? Number 3, your expertise, and that's why I was mentioning, skills. Do the people around you, do your friends, do your current clients, do your prospects consider that you really know about that subject matter so you can provide this service? And number 4, the fourth pillar is the market going to pay for it? And I mean, is it a service or a product that you're going to provide? In this case, it's an IT service company. Is this service going to be paid for in the market enough so that you will be able to make a living? So, and you actually compare those 2 markets in a very obviously conscious way, because IT services and high tech in general, last year actually they thrived pretty well. I've seen many public companies' financial statements online on their websites and of IT services companies, and they did really well because there was this whole bunch of additional problems that their customers faced, like the ones that you described, and they were open and willing to do it. They had the expertise to do it, right? So they put in place and probably had to recruit additional people. So they put in place additional people with additional skills, and they started to think, okay, so how can we provide this service so it is still profitable for the company, and we provide it to our clients in a way that is really going to help them be profitable. Don't forget that at the end of the day, if your clients don't stay profitable, it's not ethical. You were talking about values, right? It's not ethical to provide your clients with a product offer that is not going to still keep them, profitable and still offering or delivering value to their shareholders. So that would be example number 1. In the case of example number 2, which is a restaurant, right? So probably as example number 1, the clients still want that service, but they cannot have it face to face because of the restrictions. So as you very well described, they changed the model. Let's revisit those 4 pillars. Okay. So number 1, passion. Okay. So is that business is still passionate about, cooking food and offering food? Well, cooking food for sure, because that's what they used to do. But what about offering food? What about the interaction with the client? They will have to decide in this case if they're still passionate about changing their business model and offering that food, that service food, or that food service, in a different way. In this case, probably it's going to be like they will deliver it in the curbside, or they will even partner up with another company to provide it to their end clients through these home delivery services, right? So that's one thing. The second is the expertise. So do they really know how to do it? How will they have to do it? What are these additional skills of, will they have to adapt their kitchens? Will they have to adapt the rest of the, of the facility in order to make it more suitable for the kind of services that they're going to provide their clientele, right? That's very important. Number 4, is there a market for this? Obviously, I think that we all keep on eating, right? We all keep on eating, and I think that we all still have disposable income in general. The clients of the restaurant industry, we all have disposable income, and we still want to, hey, today I don't feel really like, cooking, or I don't really feel like spending so much time in the kitchen. Why not buying somewhere else? Why not? Maybe we can go to that restaurant face to face. We cannot sit, on a table, but we can still, grab something, or we can have some of those intermediary companies to buy that from us, and we can have it. And number 4, it's the market. Is the market going to pay for it? Definitely. I think that we have seen over and over again since last year that everybody was willing to pay this additional amount of dollars, whatever percentage it was, in order to have this amazing food, those delicacies that they would love to eat on site, to still have them delivered to the place. So those would be kind of how would I approach, from a pivoting or reinventing perspective, the times of crisis.
Thank you. Now I want to talk about 2 other things.
Of course.
Basically, longevity. Continuing with food, we've now become used to delivery services.
Yeah.
I have 3 blocks over there, a very nice diner that I used to go to occasionally.
Okay.
I haven't been there since February of 2020. All
Okay.
right. Next week, I get my second Pfizer shot. From what I've heard, I'm not going to be feeling very well next week.
Okay.
But the week after, I may decide, okay, I now am supposed to be safe. I'll go in and I'll get something to eat. First time eating out. But I've also had the necessities of life delivered. For example, a pastrami sandwich. All right, I can't get a pastrami sandwich at the diner. They don't know what pastrami is. It's not good. I tried. Other things are good, not the pastrami. So there's a kosher deli, and I can get it delivered. It costs a little bit more. But there will come a time when people will say, you know what? Let's go out and eat. Let's not get delivered. There are going to be fewer deliveries. On the other hand, I very much like the idea of the supermarket delivering my food so I don't have to carry a lot of heavy bags. That, for me at least, is going to continue indefinitely. You're providing services based on a crisis, and once the crisis is over, how do you keep your clients utilizing those services? Because those services are going to remind you of the crisis, which you want to forget.
I think that, well, number one, there's uncertainty, right? We're talking about uncertainty in the marketplace. So I think that we still don't know for how long, let's say, these business models have to be in place. For how long, or are those business models going to be in place, or those different ways to provide services and products to their clients? I think that we still don't know. So maybe the question is, I think that, and I'm going to relate to what typically happens when someone is launching a startup, some entrepreneur is starting their own business. I think that the most important thing is always being in touch with the market. There's something called like the minimum viable product. You probably, or service, you're obviously familiar with that. I think that being in touch with your client, consistently with your client, is going to give you the answer to what you just asked me. I think that really knowing what people are going to be comfortable in the future is going to be key. What I would personally do, and I would suggest probably my clients to do, is, hey, how are you keeping in touch with your client right now? Do you really know exactly the demographics of your client? Do you know where they are located? Do you know what kinds of services? Probably, if they have some system in place, some point of sale system in place, they will probably know who is typically buying what. And that's what's called like market intelligence, right? They already know their customer base, what are their habits of what they are buying or where they're eating, how they're doing it, how often, on which time frames, right? So all that market intelligence, the customer base intelligence, if you are a company that really cares about being in touch and knowing exactly what the market is asking for, I think that you will be able to really surf that wave. So obviously you have to plan. You have a business and you have to plan. I think that right now, being flexible about what you're planning and the decisions that you make according to the operations, you asked me about the operations also, as well. I think it's going to be the wise thing to do. There will be people that are going to stay on a place where they still feel more comfortable having everything delivered, and there's going to be people that will feel easier, more prone to go back to their former habits, right? So I think there's still a question mark to be able to answer your question, and we have to be ready as never before to be able to cope with the uncertainty and with the continuously changing habits of our consumers.
That's excellent regarding services, but let's talk about products, and there's only one product that I can think of. 2 feet away from me, maybe 3. So to make you comfortable, 1 meter away from me are 2 gaiters. You know, the masks that don't have the strings for the ears.
Okay.
The 3 original blue masks that everybody bought a year ago. 2 black masks that I shouldn't have bought on Etsy. And once it's over with, I don't need any more masks because I can wash the gaiters. The other ones, for whatever reason, I haven't thrown away. I probably should. I doubt I would use them. There are companies now that most of their income are from masks. And that demand is going to disappear. So how did they pivot with their inventory, with their machinery, to something new? Because people are not going to want to wear masks forever.
I agree. So we're talking about people are not going to wear masks forever, and probably they already feel comfortable with a specific kind of mask more than any others, right? So there will be a lot of, let's say, free use masks in the market. So that's in itself, it can be also an opportunity, but let's skip that. So number one.
Well, no, I got to stop you. No one in their right mind is going to use a used mask.
Yeah. No.
Only yes, but somebody else's, no.
No, but we're just thinking about the recycling part of the disposing. Yeah.
Misunderstood.
Thank you. No. It's all good. For the sake of the exercise, is a great conversation. So they have, number one, don't forget that these companies are having an income right now because they have clients. So even if it's a product as opposed to a service, these guys already have some clients, and they're supposed to know exactly what the clients need today and what they're going to need in the future. They have established already some business relationships, and there's some loyalty from those clients towards those vendors, in this case, ourselves, right? So I think that it would be wise if they started to think what, according to their experience and according to that relationship, if they start to talk to their clients and know, okay, so whenever this, I don't know if to call it wave or bubble, goes away, or you don't need as many as before, what do you think that we could provide you with? We think we understand your business, but what do you think you're gonna need? Again, and there's, as you know, probably not everybody has an inventory. A lot of people are just brokers or intermediaries, right? So it depends really on what your business model is. But what I would be doing is, okay, so if I've been able to provide you with this kind of product, okay, what about Mr. Customer? What about this other product that is related, that maybe I can use similar ways for manufacturing it, but it still can provide it still can provide a service. I remember in the beginning of this crisis, we talk about masks today, but we could talk about probably like gels, and many other things that are a lot of different companies, even automotive industry, started to as you remember, manufacturing different products, right, in order to use their spare production capabilities to fulfill the market needs, right? So I think it's gonna be the exact same thing. But the difference is that you made a statement, which is we're not going to need as many masks in the future. So I think that this is a lower level of uncertainty compared to what we said before. So I think that you can plan for a downtrend in the market of a specific product, and you can start thinking about, okay, so my production facility, in case it's my own production facility, how can I repurpose it so that I can try to have the same clients use a different product that can be of service to them moving forward, right? And that's why I think that as far as you really own the relationship with your clients and with your market, you are really in a very good position to pivot and to offer and to manufacture other products that can be of service.
The only thing, I'm not trying to be funny here, but I have been able to think of is what else comes with a cloth and a string. And the only thing I could think of were parachutes and bibs. And two more divergent products I can't imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure that you would want to be in a plane and jump out of the plane knowing that your parachute was manufactured by the company that manufactured the bib that your child wears. All right, but maybe.
I agree. As you know, it's a matter of certification, right? You will have to you will have to plan. You will have to have a business plan in place, and you will have to decide if all these additional, things that you have to do in order to be certified to serve, a similar kind of audience with a completely different product. I mean, again, it's a matter of what are the habits, what are the consumption habits of that market that you already have in place, of those clients that you already have in place. But to your point, I mean, nobody will allow you to sell another product unless it's gone through all the different, due diligence or the due diligence process that is necessary. But I think that there has been a lot of creativity and a lot of innovation in the market for the last 12 to 14 months due to the need to serve a different market or a market with different needs. And I think that has really been a very good thing. And I think that entrepreneurs and companies in general, they have learned so much about, the theory of constraints, things like what are the constraints in my business? How every single, business decision impacts the profitability of the company. These kind of things, I think that all those conversations have taken place. They have not taken place in many corporations, but they were a need last year. And I think that has obliged a lot of companies to decide what route to take in many different directions. And I think that all this, thoughtful processes and all those, brainstorming sessions that happened throughout the last year are going to make the companies much more profitable moving forward. I think that business owners and CEOs have become much more conscious of how every single decision impacts and has a consequence on the business profits.
The final question, which I ask all my guests, what haven't I asked you that you wish I had asked you?
Well, I think that you're a very funny person. I really enjoy the different, cases or questions that you asked me. Probably you should have asked me what's the most funny question anybody has ever asked you.
Okay, what's the funniest question anyone has ever asked you?
So probably what was the funny question besides the comparison that you make with the parachutes, which ranks really high in the list of questions I've been asked. Probably one of the questions is who would be the three people that you would seat on a dinner table. That's probably one of the funniest ones, because I really like to have.
That's actually not a funny question. That's a good question.
But I will tell you why it's a funny question, because I love so much to eat and to cook. So for me, it's real fun to think about working or thinking about who would I share specific plates. And for me, a table is almost like a sacred place where lots of magic happens. and we're actually sitting next to someone and knowing and establishing that relationship around food, I think it's really a magic place where lots of things get accomplished.
But would you choose, and I can't think of any offhand, a famous chef? Would you choose a famous scientist? Would you choose a famous entrepreneur? And would the three of them have to have something in common so that they could have a good conversation? Or would this just be you want to have three separate conversations?
Great question. Absolutely amazing question. Probably any of the three would have anything in common as far as their field of expertise, but I think that they all three would have, literally, they all three would have such a generic wisdom and background that would allow them to have a conversation among us four. That's what I think. So it wouldn't probably be a chef. I really know a very good chef that has had many Michelin forks in Europe, back in Europe, many restaurants, very, but I actually would, let me answer the question if I may. So the first person I would have on the table would be myself 7 lifetimes ago. I apparently was a Knight Templar, a Templar Knight. A Templar Knight, excuse me, I said it the other way around. That's one person, that would be myself.
Actually, they're called the Knights Templar.
Okay.
You had it right the first time.
Oh, okay. Thank you for correcting me.
So you're protecting the Holy Grail. You've got your sword.
Exactly. That's one, and it's myself. So I would love to talk to myself. 7 lifetimes ago. The other person would be whoever is running the show in the world. Whoever that person or group of person. Maybe one of them. I would love to have that whoever that is. Sitting next to me. I would love to be one part of the conversation. And the third one would be Jesus, and maybe not for the obvious reasons, but the reason for me would be because I think that typically the history books are written by the ones that won the wars. So I would love to have firsthand access to Jesus, so I could really have those tough conversations about, did you really write that? Did you really say that? Did you really do that? I would love to have that conversation. And I think that these three individuals all together could have a very, very nice conversation. What do you think, Bruce?
I think that it would be nice up until the end, what you said about Jesus, because I am assuming, and then you shouldn't make assumptions, that you are a nice Catholic boy. And that what happens when you ask Jesus, did you really say, did you really do, did this really happen? And he says to you, no. Then that would impact you on a very deep level. So sometimes it's best not to know. I found, it's very disappointing. We'll end on this. Churchill was supposed to have said to, he was stopped by a woman at a party, a lady, and she said to him, Winston, you are drunk. And he said, Madam, you are ugly. The difference between us is tomorrow morning I will not be drunk. And then it was whether or not he continued the reason that you're laughing. But according to one of his biographers, it never happened. I want that to have happened because it's a great story. But enough. We've really got an off topic. And before I let you go, I want to thank you again. And please tell our viewers how they can best get in touch.
Absolutely. So thank you. My name is Angel Ribo. Last name is Ribo, spelled like R-I-B as in boy, O. My brand is the CEO Confidant, THECEOCONFIDANT.com, the CEOConfidant.com, and you can go there. That's my website. And the easiest way to reach out to me is actually through my email. Either my team or myself, we're going to answer any single email we receive. And my email address is angel@ Angel Ribo, one word, angelribo.com, angel@angelribo.com. And thank you so much, Bruce, for having me. And thank you, everybody, for listening to us.
It was my pleasure. I'm Bruce Hurwitz. Thank you for watching. And as always, please stay focused.